Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ria Tanjuatco-Trillo. Today on the program, over 1,000 PUV routes nationwide still without consolidated entities, with the highest numbers in Bicol and Metro Manila. The LTFRB allays worries of a transport crisis by February. And later, what penalties await drivers and operators who failed to join cooperatives or corporations as part of the government's PUV modernization program? LTFRB Chairman Teofilo Guadiz joins us in the show. We begin with this story. A recent study says Metro Manila has the worst traffic among metro areas in the world. The Metro Manila Development Authority and some experts share their thoughts on the metro's traffic problem. EJ Gomez reports.
Metro Manila takes the top spot for having the worst traffic in the world. This is according to transportation data firm TomTom Traffic Index. The report says in 2023, the average level time in Metro Manila is at 25 minutes and 30 seconds for every 10 kilometers. This gets worse during the Friday rush hours when it would take 35 minutes and 30 seconds to travel 10 kilometers. But the MMDA isn't too sure about the report.
Hindi namin alam kung anong methodology ang in-employ ng TomTom to say na number one ang Metro Manila. Nag-count ba sila? Anong basis nila? Hindi naman po namin itatanggi na meron talagang traffic dito sa Metro Manila. Pero gusto lang namin ipaalam din kung ano talaga yung reason kung bakit nagkaka-traffic sa Metro Manila.
Artes says there are now 3.6 million vehicles traversing a mere 5,000-kilometer road network in Metro Manila every day. On EDSA alone, 400,000 vehicles pass through daily, 100,000 more than its carrying capacity. Illegal structures, road repairs, illegal parking, and road accidents also cause heavy traffic.
Whole of government approach, magtutulong-tulong po kami ng iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan para i-address po ito. Kailangan din po namin yung tulong ng mamamayan dahil kailangan po ng disiplina sa lansangan.
But according to urban planner Paulo Alcazarin,
the MMDA is powerless at this point because they are trying to address only the symptom, which is traffic, and they have limited ability to address the problem from a metropolitan context.
He says the government needs to invest on a comprehensive active transport system in the country.
So yung solution is to move away from yung car-centric transport to mass transit-based transportation system, additional active mobility or alternative transport systems. Yan ang solusyon.
Urban planner Felino June Palafox meanwhile recommends that authorities implement congestion charging and establish roads parallel to EDSA.
Parang recommendations namin doon, maybe in your email, we can send it to you, like congestion charging. During heavy traffic, you pay to use the road. Parang RFID, you postpone unnecessary trips. So you get out of the peak hours, you don't want to pay.
And strongly suggests that government involve experts when it makes urban master plans.
They should listen to experts. Because urban planning decisions are sometimes decided by mayors, not urban planners. Kasi our some, not all decision makers in our part of the world has fixed mindset. The progressive cities and countries in the world, they have growth mindset.
EJ Gomez, CNN Philippines.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, sees no looming transportation crisis in the country despite over 1,000 public utility vehicles not complying with the government's requirement to consolidate under the modernization program. Bicol has the highest number of routes without consolidated jeepneys, followed by Metro Manila. In the capital region, more than 300 jeepney routes remain without consolidated entities, while the count is at more than 70 routes for UV Express. The government says there's no need to worry since these are short distance routes that can be covered by other modes of transportation. And now let's go straight to the source of the story, LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Chairperson, good morning. Thank you for being here. All right, sir. First, we'd like to get an update on the numbers. To date, how many PUVs have consolidated nationwide?
For the nationwide rate, we have 76.6% of the motor vehicles have consolidated.
All right.
As of December
All right, sir. It seems we are having trouble with your line. We're going to try to get that fixed. But for now, we're going to go to a commercial break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Ria Tanjuatco-Trillo, and our source today is LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Sir, good morning. Thanks again for being here. Now, first, we'd like to get an update on the numbers. To date, how many PUVs have consolidated nationwide?
On a nationwide scale, we have 76.6%, and for Metro Manila, we have 97% of the motor vehicles now have consolidated and have complied with the modernization program of the government.
All right, so those numbers are actually quite high. Do you still expect this number to increase, or would this most likely be the figure that's going to stay until the January 31st deadline?
I think there is a probability that the numbers would still increase, considering that at this moment the LTFRB is considering other options to integrate those who failed to miss the consolidation last December 31. Case in point, ma'am, is that before the December 31 deadline, you are required to put up a corporation or a cooperative and then apply for a route. In the current setup, those who miss filing a petition for a consolidation of a cooperative or a corporation may join. So tataas pa yan. Kasi yung mga hindi nakapagpatayo ng cooperative can join existing cooperatives. So we expect the number to go up for the next 3 more months.
All right, sir. Now let's talk about the list of jeepney routes released by the LTFRB last week. I believe the number was 1,767 jeepney routes nationwide that are still unconsolidated. So first of all, what does this mean? Does it mean na pag walang consolidation ang isang rota, there won't be any jeepneys or PUVs plying that route at all? How concerning is this for you?
No, hindi po ganun yun. In one route, we only look into the jeepneys. But remember, in a certain street or in a certain route, there are buses, there are UVs, there are tricycles, there are TNVS going on those routes. Let's just take a case in point in Metro Manila, where the focus of this modernization program is. There is a certain like routes A to B that has not been consolidated. So ang presumption mo is wala nang dadaan na jeep dyan. But there is a bigger route of A to C where jeepneys are passing through the routes of A to B. So yung mga hindi nag-consolidate, napupunuan din po yan noong mga nag-consolidate on routes A to C. Number 2, those who fail to consolidate for routes A to B are either joining those existing cooperatives of A to C, or they join as drivers of those existing cooperatives in adjoining routes. So I do not really see the point where there would be a shortage in motor vehicle, in public motor vehicles in the metro area. Moreover, based on the studies of the LTFRB and the DOTR, there is really what you call an excess in the number of public utility vehicles. So there is now the need to trim them down. There is the need then to recalibrate, put them in existing routes where there are less. So for this time, we don't see any shortage at all, and we are very confident of our figures.
All right, so you're saying there's actually been an excess of public utility vehicles and we need to actually trim these down. Let's talk about specific areas, Chairman. No? I think the area with the biggest number of unconsolidated routes would be the Bicol region, followed by Metro Manila. What is the particular challenge for these areas? Why have they had a hard time, or why have they been resisting consolidation?
Based on our dialogue with the drivers in the area, they were not properly apprised on how to consolidate. So what they did was just to join the other modes of transports like UV and then mga buses. Number two, in the Bicol area where the routes are really long, there is not that much need for modernized jeepney. Ang kailangan po riyan are buses. Kasi these routes are more than 60 kilometers. And normally when a route is more than 60 kilometers, buses at saka UV na po ang tumatakbo.
I see, sir. Okay, so what is going to happen now to these routes by February 1? How is it going to affect our commuters?
Number one, we're closely monitoring on that. We have testings going on right now. Sensitivity analysis on how these things would go on. Kung ang ratio po namin is passenger to the public motor vehicle plying a certain route, kine-check po namin ilan po bang bus ang dumadaan dyan, ilan po bang dumadaan dyan na tricycle, and then UV Express where there are a lot, plus taxis in Metro Manila. If we compute all of these, we do not see a shortage in the motor vehicle, even if only for public utility jeeps, sobra-sobra po. Kasi there are areas in Metro Manila where there was a duplication. Ibig sabihin, nagbigay kami ng route ng A to B, and yet there were already routes flying A to C, which covers B. So in these areas, even if you lose those jeeps flying the routes of A to B, mayroon namang mga routes ng A to C, plus of course the other modes of public utility vehicles to complement them.
All right, now regarding these unconsolidated routes po, do you have an estimated number of passengers who normally travel within these routes?
Yes, we do have the data, but I don't have them with me right now. But we also factor all of this into account to ensure that there would be adequate motor vehicles comes February 1.
Now, Chairman, just in case, what would the backup plan be if biglang magkakaroon ng influx of passengers and there just aren't enough vehicles to service them?
Okay, we have two backup plans. On February 1, on the assumption na kulang na talaga, there are what we call rescue vehicles. Number two, jeepneys flying the the adjoining route. For example, A to C. Meron palang nagbiyabiyahe dyan na A to D, which is adjoining that route. We will allow now those jeeps to fly that existing route na kinukulang. And we will be issuing special permits for them para mabiyahe po nila, mapunan po nila yung mga areas where there should be, I would say, a shortage, a probable shortage, although that possibility is remote, ma'am.
All right, you mentioned the rescue vehicles. What exactly are these rescue vehicles, or what form do they come in?
Ito yung mga ginagamit sa strike, yung mga buses and jeeps provided for by MMDA. But this will only be good for about a week or two, because by then we would be able now to adequately address the issue within at least 2 to 3 days by issuing special permits for jeeps of adjoining route to take over these routes where there could probably be a shortage of vehicles.
All right, sir. With that, we do need to take another short break, but we will be back. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Ria Tanjuatco-Trillo. Our source today, LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. Sir, welcome back to the program. Let's get right back into it. Manibela Chairman Marvel Buena said in a radio interview that 25,000 jeepney and UV drivers will possibly lose their jobs by February 1, and that's in Metro Manila alone. What is your response to that, sir?
Those figures are definitely inaccurate. Okay, let me explain. Prior to the pandemic, ang baseline po natin is there are about 42,000 issued franchises. Okay? After the pandemic, ang nagrehistro at bumalik lang sa kalye are 22,000 motor vehicles lang po. We're talking of jeepneys, okay? So of that 22,000, 21,000 plus consolidated, leaving a 600 operators who did not consolidate, meaning to say there is a 97% consolidation rate. So, halos lahat yung mga tumatakbo sa Metro Manila na consolidate, so there would be no jobs lost. 97% of them are already into the program. Now, what about the remaining 600 jeeps and operators? For the operators, there's not much that we can do. But for the drivers, there are a lot of things that we can do. Number one, the existing cooperatives need drivers because in the modernized system, at the most is 16 hours ang takbo ng isang jeep. So every 8 hours, you need to replace the driver. Most cooperatives need drivers. Number two, we have the social program of the government for those who really do not want to join the program. Sino yung mga ito? Yung mga matatanda na, ayaw na nila talagang mag-drive ng jeep, or those who have old jeepneys who do not want to further venture into the program, feeling that they've had enough. What are these programs? TESDA. We have programs for TESDA, and DOLE would be giving them employment, yung ayaw magnegosyo. But for those who would like to go into business, TESDA would be providing vocational courses for them, and we will give them also what we call the money for them to enter into a business. So there are a lot of components of this business. We have the social component, and we have those that would be assimilated and absorbed by the existing cooperatives. Wala pong maiiwanan.
Okay, so we're saying na imbis na 25,000 drivers na mawawala ng trabaho, you're saying that number is maybe at around 600. If that is the case, is that a number that can be fully absorbed by the existing cooperatives and corporations?
Definitely, because in the current concept, ma'am, it's mostly one operator, one jeepney. So after 5 o'clock ng hapon, 6 o'clock, si Mamang Super, gumagarahe na yan. In the existing setup, jeepneys would have to ply the road for at least 16 hours to ensure that there will be adequate supply of motor vehicles in the area. So if a motor vehicle driver is allowed to drive only for 8 hours, somebody has to take his place for the next 8 hours. Which means to say then they would be needing a lot of drivers. In fact, in some of the congressional hearings that we had, the existing cooperatives had manifested their desire to hire these drivers of operators who did not consolidate. Ma'am, let me be very emphatic on this. Ang nawalan ho ng trabaho rito is not the driver, it's the operator because he did not consolidate for personal or other reasons. Otherwise, the drivers who did not will be joining other cooperatives.
All right, sir. Now, despite the possible shortage of PUV units, some say this could lead to a transportation crisis. And basically, you're saying that that's not going to happen because there's actually been a surplus of PUVs. What we're doing now is basically trimming them down.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, we're leading up to February 1. That is really just a few days away. Can you tell us a little bit about your coordination with the LGUs for February 1, which is the day after the deadline?
Okay. Number one, we have identified the routes where there are possibly unconsolidated jeepneys. And in those areas, we have coordinated already with MMDA in the event that there could probably be a shortage of jeepneys in the area. Number two, we have already started talk with jeepneys who are plying the routes adjoining the unconsolidated area, and we are preparing the issuance of special permit for those jeepneys plying the adjoining route to take over these routes in the event that the existing motor vehicles in those unconsolidated areas are insufficient to address the needs of motor vehicles. So we have a two-pronged approach. From the government perspective, which I was saying is the rescue buses, and jeepneys from the nearby areas where there were existing cooperatives to take over now these existing routes. And that should be easy within the next 2 to 3 days. Ma-identify na namin yan, we issue the special permit, they run those routes.
So, sir, to be clear, lahat ng unconsolidated units will be deemed colorum, and after that, they will be caught. Is that correct? And what are the penalties if ever they are caught?
Ma'am, if you have not consolidated as of this time, then in all probability, you cannot register your motor vehicle because a requirement from the LTO for you to be registered is what we call confirmation certificate from the LTFRB that you are a public utility vehicle. So if you apply the route, it means you're unregistered. So there is a penalty for non-registration, which is 5,000 pesos. And since you do not also have an existing franchise because you failed to consolidate, you are probably running the possibility of getting penalized for motor vehicles jeepneys that would be about 50,000 pesos.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, by February 1, considered revoked na yung mga franchises nila. Tama po ba?
Yes, because under the terms of a franchise, one of the reasons why your franchise would be revoked is your failure to address or to the requirements of the LTFRB. Now, if you are unable to address the terms and conditions demanded by your franchise, then your franchise gets suspended or revoked. In this case, it's revoked.
Right. Sir, paano malalaman ng mga traffic enforcers if consolidated ang mga bumabiyahe? How will they know?
Yes, a good question. One, for the first 3 months or 4 months, there would be flagging down of the jeepneys, random, especially in the morning and in the afternoon. But habang nagpa-flag down ko sila, we will be issuing now stickers to the motor vehicles, which we will be requiring them to put up into their windshield, similar to that issued by the LTO. So we would be able to immediately determine if a motor vehicle is colorum or not.
All right. And as our last question, sir, we want to ask, are you confident that the Supreme Court will rule in your favor despite the petition filed by Manibela and Piston?
Ma'am, I do not wish to deal with that on the grounds of sub judice po. We have filed our answer on that, and we're just hoping that the Supreme Court will look into the side of the government, but that is for the court to decide.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We do appreciate your time. That was LTFRB Chairperson Teofilo Guadiz. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ria Tanjuatco-Trillo. You're watching CNN Philippines.